Welcome to another episode of People of Nature. Today we have with us Srimati Divya Bharathi M, IFS. Welcome Divya ji to People of Nature podcast.
Thank you, Pankaj.
Let me briefly introduce Divya. Srimati Divya is working as the Deputy Conservator of Forests at Sipna Division, Melghat Tiger Reserve since 2021. Prior to this, she worked as the Divisional Manager with Forest Department Corporation, Forest Development Corporation of Maharashtra, Gondia. She also has experience working at the famous Tadoba Andhari Tiger Reserve as the Assistant Conservator of Forests. Divyaji obtained a bachelor's in engineering degree in electronics and telecommunication in 2013. After a short stint of corporate jobs, she chose her calling and joined a PG program in forestry, eventually joining the forest department as IFS. Divya is an avid naturalist and is starving to build the capacity of her staff in research and documentation. Though working in tiger country, she is very peculiar about documenting the tiniest insect fauna in the large forest tracts. So that's our today's speaker, Srimati Divya Bharti. Welcome Divyaji once again to our podcast.
Thank you, Pankaj.
So I will head to the questions now. My first question is about your journey. Have you always been associated with forests and nature? How did you become a DCF?
Actually, all this started with a nature camp in my school days. In my 11th standard, my school took the students to a camp in forest in Western Ghats. It
Okay.
was, I should say, love at first sight. I just wanted to be in the. I hadn't been to a forest before, and the day I saw the forest, I found my calling. I was like, I should be in the forest. Then I went to the people there and asked them, what should I do if I have to be in the forest? They said, "Ki you should get into forest service." But I was very reluctant to write a difficult exam and all that.
Mhm.
And I was also in the computer science stream, so I couldn't choose forestry as my stream in my degree. So I went into engineering, but then I always had this calling like I should be in the forest, what I'm doing here in the engineering field and all. And then I took a year to really, think about what should I do after my degree. Then I tried a lot of things. I tried working with NGOs. I tried to prepare for IAFM diploma, but then it all boiled down to being in the forest. So, and I decided to take this difficult path of writing IFS and getting into um IFS. So I am here.
Wow, that's a long and very interesting journey indeed. And you have been working at Melghat, one of the beautiful forests in central India. So Melghat is known for mammals like tigers and sloth bears. We all know about it. Are there any memorable sightings or field incidents which you can tell to our audience?
So far, I have just had one sighting of tiger, and I'm not very particular about sighting a tiger given the clamor behind it. I'm more interested in flying tigers. You know what I mean, butterflies.
Okay.
But then we we once had this issue. A tiger had come from Satpuras all the way to Melghats. So
Okay.
it was radio collared, but it was non-functional. So
Mhm.
but there were a lot of interest and complaints like that radio collar it is not functioning and it should be removed and it is constraining its neck and all that. So I was
Okay.
really worried, but I couldn't get a direct sighting. I went
Mhm.
with Sri Vankade sir, who is like a veteran who worked in Melgats. We were
Mhm.
just roaming through the forest and I got the sight of this tiger. That was my first sighting of tiger in Melgats, and so far the only one. And the
Okay.
tiger, stretched its neck and I saw the collar coming down. So I was
Oh.
sure that the collar is not tight and it is not straining the tiger because it was a female and we were suspecting that it was pregnant. So
Oh.
tranquilizing and removing the radio collar would have been difficult. So it was a
Right.
moment of relief, and I was
Right.
glad that it was not constraining the tiger and I really don't have to go about tranquilizing it. So yeah,
Wow.
that
I can
answers your
imagine that. I
question.
mean, this whole scenario pretty interesting. So, I mean, you never know what you find in forest. So many different experiences you must be having. So, one more thing about very special about Melghat is that the occurrence of forest owlet. So, for the audience, forest owlet is an endangered owl endemic to India, and this bird is very close to my heart as it was a topic for my PhD also. So, Divyaji, what is the current research going on this species at Melghat regarding the ecology of the species and the threats it faces, if any?
Uh, Regarding threats, we have a very well protected area since it is a tiger reserve. We do not have any felling happening here. And forest owlet, its habitat is closely related to old teak forest. So we have
Yes.
a good old teak forest here, which is also not being felled. So there are no threats as such for the forest
Yeah.
owlet. We have a thriving population here, and we are currently writing the tiger conservation plan for the tigers. As a
Okay.
part of it, we have a specific monitoring plan for forest owlet, which we are carrying out in-house with our staffs. Regular monitoring is happening, and we are trying to map the presence of the forest owlet in the first phase. And apart from this, Ms. Prachi Mehta and her team, they have been conducting research for the past few years. Not just
Mhm.
forest owlets, they try to map how it is sharing the space with other owls, and how
Okay.
it is sharing the food availability and all that. That is an interesting research we had. And right now, what we have is just in house, and we welcome researchers to do further in the
Okay.
space.
Great. Great to know that. So we used to call forest owlet the tiger of the bird world. Bird world. So it used to be a slogan, we used to, because in endangered owl, diurnal owl, many times you see them in the daytime, and very difficult to spot many times. You can hear them, but spotting an owl is really difficult task. So very interesting species indeed. So
Yes.
let me come to my next question, Divyaji. The forest department not only has to conserve the wildlife of Melghat, but also ensure locals can access forest resources like fruits and NTFP, non-traditional forest produce. How is this managed?
You might be aware of Forest Rights Act. In that,
Yes.
traditionally recognize the we recognize the rights traditionally enjoyed by the people. So, as part
Mhm.
of it, community forest land has been awarded to the villages here. We almost have it in every village, so people are free to collect the resources there, even though it is part of the uh, national park or wildlife sanctuary. So, people have their
Right.
rights recognized,
Yeah.
whereby the government has recognized, department has recognized their right to collect resources sustainably. So that's
I
how
see.
it's
I see.
been.
Great.
So we have sufficient, legal provisions for people
Mhm.
to collect the resources.
Okay. 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 I see. Oh, great. So you have been also part of many various campaigns and various surveys that have been, about Melghat. So one of those
Yes.
that we know of is the Melghat Bird Survey, and these have been started with the participation of interested public for
Yes.
wildlife monitoring. This is what we think. So how does this entire bird survey works out? And do you have any other plans for involving people in the wildlife monitoring?
We usually have the surveys for 3-4 days. We have
Okay.
it one. We have one during winter survey and one in the summer. So we have
Okay.
started this from for the past 2 years. We have been doing this, and we want to involve the public, citizen science, in the survey process. And in that, our department staffs are also involved. So we usually do present survey of the species, their presence in different habitats, and their numbers. This is happening. And apart from this, we are trying to um, do surveys for insects also. Probably we'll do it for butterflies and odonates this monsoon. So that is what we are
Okay.
planning to do. Yeah.
Okay. So how is the response of public to this service?
Uh, we have lot of demands. We have this time we had survey during the New Year.
Mhm.
I was little apprehensive, like people would want to celebrate New Year in the city. Nobody would want to
Yes.
come to a forest. But we had overwhelming response from throughout the country.
Oh,
There are there are many naturalists still out there, wanting to spend time in the forest even on New Year. So we have
wow.
a promise
That's
participation.
good to know.
Yeah,
So there are a lot of people who want to be in the forest on the New Year Eve. It's a big achievement as such.
it is.
So apart from the birds, you also have an interest in insects, and we are just curious to know how did it develop.
I was interested in things that fly. So
Okay.
it started with birds and then eventually it moved to butterflies
Okay.
and then to odonates. Anything that flies fascinated me, and
Okay.
not really a big story behind that. So I'm
Mhm.
gradually trying to develop interest in different things. I'm trying to move on from odonates. Now I'm trying
Oh,
to study beetles, study spiders. I try to pick up a topic for a year, try to
mhm.
read them on that particular and that year and try to move on. But I diverge sometimes. This year I worked on trees. So
Right.
just it's all interlinked. You see one thing and it leads to learning about the
Right.
others. Keeps you hooked.
So, I mean, my next question is in the relation with my first question. So, do you plan, just like you are doing these bird surveys, annual bird surveys, do you plan to also introduce any insect monitoring plans, like butterflies, odonets, at Melghat?
We have a monitoring plan, not particularly, focused on insects. With our
Mhm.
forest staffs, with our guards, we are
Okay.
recording the species in iNaturalist. We are trying to build a repository. We have
Mhm.
recorded 700 species so far, 400 of
Wow.
them insects, and we have a lot of first-time records of insects in this in Central India. A lot of first-time records are there. So it is an ongoing process. We have been doing this for the past 2 years.
Okay.
Uh, this is ongoing, and apart from that, involving public, we are trying, as I said, we are trying to have some ordinates and butterfly survey this monsoon.
Mhm. Wow. So this is with the help of the forest department staff, right? Frontline staff.
Yeah, yeah. The recordings are done by them, and of course, the identification it is done through citizen science forum. For ID, we take help of experts. So that is
Okay.
what is being done.
So how is their response towards such projects? So I think this is not a common project which is happening to all the tiger reserves in the all the tiger reserves, right? So this is I think an offbeat research project I would say, because in tiger reserves are generally meant to be good places to research on tigers or big animals, and very few people would go dare to do research on lesser known fauna.
Yeah.
So how is the entire response?
And their response, it's like, as you said, this is first time for many of the people were asking me, ordinates, we study them, we thought these insects, we study them as pests. This is first
Yes.
time we are having a different look and all that. Frankly, what I think is we started Project Tiger in 72,
Mhm.
and we have come a
Yes.
long way. This tiger reserve has come a long way. It has been 15 years. I think we should move on. Tiger is a keystone species.
Mhm.
It is very important. It's protecting that. We
Mhm.
are protecting the habitat, but we
Yes.
should think ahead also. We should insects. They are the most populous group. So we should think about. We have moved over to herbivores. We have moved over to grassland management, and I think insects is the next step. And this is how I have been communicating with my staff also, and the
Right.
response has been good. Particularly in
Okay.
my division, the number of tigers is less, so they have
Okay.
something to be occupied with, and they also
Yes.
get to have some recognition. So the response is good, and we have been
Okay.
making some short videos on their insect, on their photographs. We have been posting it
Mhm.
through the site handle, so it keeps them involved. So I think it's good.
That's a very good innovative way of keeping the frontline staff involved in something which is very important. But we are, I think, missing that out. Wow,
Yeah.
that's great. Devaji, thanks a lot for these insights about the work that you are doing. So I will come to my next question, and I think this is um, a question that perhaps you can relate better. So the tourism, tiger tourism in India has increased over the last few years. I think similar things must be happening in Melghat Tiger Reserve as well. So, what are your observations regarding the tourist behavior towards animals in protected area in general, and perhaps specifically also you can tell us about Melghat?
When it comes specific to Melghat, people are aware that tiger sighting is not very common here, given the hilly
Okay.
terrain. So it is not like you are in Tadoba or you are in Tipeshwar view where sighting is a given thing. Here, tiger sighting is not a given thing.
Okay.
But people come for
Mhm.
the landscape, particularly in monsoon. People are interested in seeing Melghats.
Okay.
So Melghat gives me the hope that people believe there is something beyond tigers in the tiger reserve.
Oh.
So the tourism here, yeah, the tourism here is a proof to that. People keep coming
Oh.
here even though they know that they cannot see tigers.
Wow.
And we also attune the guides and drivers here. They speak more of birds, they speak of odonate,
I
they
see.
speak about radbear. So
Wow.
we focus on other things here in Sipna. So
Mhm.
I think there is uh, it is all about telling the right story to the people. You tell them
Mhm.
an interesting story about a beetle, they'll be as interested as they are in tigers. It's all in the hands of the guides who tell them the story.
Oh, wow. So it's a movie that the guides are directing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And we are moving towards it. Many of them are many of the people, they'll still be like, okay, I didn't get to see anything, but we tell them no, tiger is not everything inside the forest. We have a lot of things. So that's
Yes,
how we
indeed.
and I feel there is hope. We can get
Mhm.
there slowly.
Wow, that's very interesting because we go to tiger reserves to watch tigers. That is always the destination for most of the tourists who go there. But the forest is full of mystery and so many things out there. So why not also read the forest instead of just focusing on one species when you're going out there?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
great initiative, Divyaji. At least in Melghat Tiger Reserve, I think these kind of approaches must be applied to many other tiger reserves, and perhaps then the tourists will also become more conscious about the forest in general. Okay, so with that, I'm coming to the end of this interview. The last question to you, Diva ma'am, and this has been so far a very interesting discussion. Um, it's I think it's very difficult to relate. You being in the forest all the time, uh, very well the forest, the people, the issues the forest has, and the kind of laws and protection it gets. So from an outsider, it really is very difficult to relate with the kind of life you must be having. So with that, I would like to ask you, what have been the biggest challenges you have faced, not only as a DCF, but as a woman working in the forest?
Um, the challenge as a DCF is a classical one, development versus protection, what we face as a
Mhm.
society.
Right.
So there are a lot of processes involved when some projects come, like even for providing electricity to the villages, we'll have to
Okay.
get wildlife and forest conservation act. All this takes time even in getting the basic facilities for the people located inside the village. So, but we'll
Okay.
have to uphold the laws. We'll have to
Mhm.
protect the forest. So, but you people are like, we are living inside. We need roads. We need buildings. We need everything. So
Mhm.
the challenge
Right.
is there, and communicating this to the people and facing that, it is a big challenge, and
Right.
it is
Right.
a challenge every forester faces. And if you
Mhm.
ask me what challenge do you face as a woman, I don't think, I have never faced a challenge just because I'm a woman. I'm facing challenges as a forester, but not particularly anything as women. Maharashtra is a very good state, and it has
Mhm.
been very kind to me. And I have never faced any difficulties in the administration so far. On the uh, contrary, I feel like being a women administrator gives you a lot of edge.
Oh.
There is this added decorum, and you
Okay.
yourself are compassionate, empathetic, and it adds a lot of plus to the administration. For you to manage the forest, to manage the people and handle. So I feel like being women administrator in the forest, it's a plus. It's a boom. Yeah.
Wow, wow. That was, I think I never expected this kind of an answer, because I thought that you will start saying that, oh, yeah, there are a lot of problems and you have to be outside in remote areas without network and all that. But this was completely
What more
unexpected.
advantage can be, without network area, being in the forest? That is the
Yes,
best
yes,
thing you can have.
yes, I completely agree with you. Yeah, that is the best place in the world to be.
Yeah, yeah.
So definitely. Wow, that was amazing talking to you, Divyaji. It was a very wonderful discussion. Thanks a lot for being part of this podcast. Thanks.
Likewise. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me here.